Yoga is generally understood as a spiritual endeavor or as a kind of physical expression. In both cases, people are looking for something in it that would help them to solve the basic problems of life, but they do not know what the problems are. However, they cannot clearly define them. They spend all their life efforts so that they can live happily. The desire for a happy life is often overshadowed by the presumed desire for knowledge. They are usually still not interested in real knowledge, that is, in analytical knowledge of the qualities of the world and all its processes that determine our lives. They want to know how they can achieve a happy sense life. Those who are encouraged by the desire to live happily or to gain the knowledge to seek yoga often use inappropriate yogic means. Temptation is almost always the last of the three parts of yoga education, namely concentration, regardless of its degree. And yet the first part of yoga education is moral education, which in fact solves the problem of unhappy emotional life in all its breadth. Concentration either does not solve this at all, or only in some more or less abstract contours. You can concentrate with a clear and pure mind, as well as with a dull, furious and biased one. And then the results look like this. The problem of a happy or unhappy life is an emotional problem. And because from the point of view of yoga, this problem must first be solved, the pit is prescribed as the first step to yoga training. Jama means the discipline of emotions. It literally brings happiness. An angry, stubborn, unpleasant, biased and limited person would like to put it all off, simply sit in a yogic position and concentrate for a long time until he is happy. But just as it is not possible to fly a horse-drawn carriage and fly around the city, it is not possible to achieve feelings of happiness by concentrating on a yoga position. Nor can simple moral discipline distinguish what yoga prescribes to rid consciousness of the last slags of ignorance. So you have to start with the Jama. And let's face it, in order not to describe the stereotypical commands of morality as described by the Jama, let's just start differently, without deviating from these commands at least. Jama prescribes that one should not harm, lie, steal, lie obscene, etc. What does this mean? One should live in such a way that one's mind is not narrowed, neither darkened by malice, aroused by hatred, resentment and so on. Pies is all angry, unwilling, greedy and biased and so on. That is why he must abandon comedy or the theory of prescribed morality, for if he is happy, he must carry out moral commands by developing a peaceful mind, a happy mood, trust, and optimism. When he behaves in this way, he will not provoke anyone by deeds or by developing his mental states. The more he adheres to these states of mind, the more he will even out the potential states of the opposite mood, and when he reaches the end of this moral purification, his happiness will be complete, and did not fit into the world of sexual greed, and his happiness will be happiness and failure are therefore a matter of inner and mental states. However, if a person is spoiled by pessimism, restless minds and bad moods, as well as suspicion, the feeling of happiness does not want to appear. For one who constantly strives for good mental and mental states, only time will bring the desired result, that is, happiness. And when that happens, one succeeds in the most important part of yogic discipline, the Jama. The second step is Nijama. It actually concerns both physical and mental hygiene. One should pay attention to the outside, be attentive in contact with people so that he does not appear eccentric. He should be educated, he should learn to think consciously, as opposed to reflex thinking, to maintain etiquette of both social and ecclesiastical morality, or lay morality, to exercise restraint in judgment, not to react spontaneously to any actions or events, to occupy the mind by reading religious books, and to seek a society engaged in noble deeds and teachings. He who constantly adheres strictly to the orders of the Jama and Nijama will attain the transformation of the qualities of the natural states of living. He will rise qualitatively in the decade of creation, rising from the realm of beings blunt and unfortunate into the realm of beings living harmonics, and potentially transcends limited physical and other areas of supersensible being. Over time, it is possible that the problem of an unhappy life can and will only be able only by changing or exchanging thoughts and feeling information about reality. Understand that living with moral eyes stands out for hygiene, understood in the sense of Nijama, seek among the gods, in the realm of pure and delightful living, where his suspicion itself gives him the idea of the highest benefits. Most people interested in yoga usually do not desire higher destruction. And when they seem to learn another lesson from the yogic system, they hurt themselves. They mix important disparate things and have the same consequences as overeating dishes on interacting dishes. When you decide that you do not know life harmoniously and blissfully, but only have a desire to know, then only one is mature for the gradual reality of other lessons of yogic doctrine. Then yoga develops the following, follow them with asanas. Even asanas do not have to belong to hygiene. Occasionally, you have fitness equipment available to increase body balance, surviving peaks in anticipation of physical intolerance, or juba, in removing nervousness. The yogi, who is stubborn and optimistic as a result of the jama and nijama, can be stabilized with the help of physical asanas, so that he will achieve success in the jama and not make nijama worldly again. This means that the positions must be calm, before there is adequacy and composure. Only then should he complete the evocation with pranayama. Pranayama begins with rhythmic breathing. Rhythmic breathing is accompanied by observation of the rhythm of the breath. By this one is understood as prana, the physical content of the breath or breathing. The rhythmic breathing that your teacher has the way of rhythm and the observation of breathing that harmonizes between people and nature. There is a feeling of freshness, the negative aspect of which, recatching the world, can be suppressed by asanas. Then one is ready for the next steps of yoga training. These are only good for you, who has problems with the integration of individuals into the world and its destinies, and who has problems with my relationship with individuals to the world, who cause psychological non-selfishness or differentiating moments. When a person is potentially happy and his pleasure is disturbed only by the desire for knowledge, can he take the path of a disciplined mind? It makes sense well prepared for this because one does not desire sense pleasures. Under these circumstances, the mind should be gradually attached to one object and stabilized. This attachment and gradual stabilization is called pratyahara. The yogi has to eliminate the distraction of the mind by recalling his own body. He sits in position, his mind dwelling on his body, at its base, at the seat, while the torso should be avoided. However, until the mind is accustomed to resting on one object, a very concrete object, it runs away again and becomes volatile. And to prevent her from doing so is actually pratyahara. It can be characterized by the tension that comes from the struggle to stabilize it. This tension is then manifested by various mystical phenomena and accompanying phenomena, which must generally be rejected, otherwise the mind would not stabilize. When the mind stabilizes, it passes to the next phase, the concentration called dharana. Dharana can be characterized as a state of mind that no longer hinders the exaggeration of mental relaxation. When this release is connected with the consciousness of emptiness, boundless space, and the release touching the emotional component, it is dharana. When the concentration of the mind lengthens and the awareness of emptiness, boundless space, and relaxation no longer falls apart or disappears, it is the second stage of concentration, dhyana. And when this state becomes permanent, self-sustaining, that is, without trying to concentrate, it is the third stage of concentration, samadhi. Samadhi, therefore, signifies the realization of the state of mind that has arisen in his concentration, namely, the realization of emptiness, boundless space, and mental relaxation. When these qualities develop in such a way that they become the dominant states for consciousness, when they control the whole psyche of man and present to him the emptiness of the cosmos as a living reality, as an absolute, which, although not the direct originator of creation, is in contact with him, then one attained nirvikalpasamadhi. This state crushes cosmic phenomena into nothingness, and thus the mind is redeemed from the samsaric state, from the state of enslaved nature. Then the mind can realize the absolute state and thus remove every assumption of the individual spinning in the form of self-consciousness.